What is up, my little grade 2 buddies? Welcome back to the Maths Guy. Today we are having a year 3 maths lesson focusing on addition and subtraction. Let's go. Okay, so in this video we're going to cover everything you need to know to master addition and subtraction in year 3. This is lesson 2 of our year 3 lesson series focusing on addition and subtraction. If you haven't looked at lesson 1, our place value lesson, I would suggest you start there first, and our next lesson is going to be looking at multiplication and division. Okay, so where are we going to start? Well, we're going to start with looking at mental methods of addition and subtraction. Let's go.
Okay, so one thing to remember, when we are using mental methods, we want to partition the number in our head. So what does that mean? Well, it means breaking our numbers down into their ones, tens, hundreds, and whatever else they might have. So looking at this first example, the addition, we have the number 234, which is made up of 4 ones, 3 tens, and 2 hundreds. And we have 151, which is 1 1, 5 tens, and 100. So what I'm going to do in my head, I'm going to do exactly what I would do with column method, but I'm going to do it in my head. And that is start at my smallest value. So I'm going to look at my ones first of all. And in my head, I would remember that 234 had 4 ones and 151 had 1 1. So therefore 4 add 1 equals 5. So I would remember that my answer had 5 ones. Then I'd look at my tens and I would remember that 234 had 3 tens and 151 had 5, and therefore 3 add 5 equals 8 tens. And lastly, I would look at my hundreds and I would remember that 234 obviously has 200 and 151 has 100, giving me a total of 300. Therefore, when I put this back together in my head, I would have 385. And all I did was just partition that number in my mind, adding first the ones, the tens, and the hundreds. Let's look at the second one, the subtraction question of 452 subtract 332. And let's do this all in my mind without writing anything down. So 452 subtract 332. Well, I can hear that my ones is going to be 2 subtract 2, which obviously equals 0. My tens in 452 subtract 332, I have 5 tens subtract 3 tens, and that's going to equal 2 tens. And lastly, my hundreds, 400 subtract 300 is going to leave me with 100. So my answer is 120. So the simple method is just to break the number down in your mind, but remembering to start from the units. But why must we start from the units? Let's look at a mega challenge. Let's have a look at 256 add 125. Now this time in my head, when I add my 6 and my 5 for the ones, I come back with 11. Well, 11 ones isn't very helpful because I can't keep 11 ones in my ones column. So now I have to do an extra process of remembering I have 1 1 and a 10, and the 10 I'm going to add to my tens column. So the answer to my ones column is going to be a 1, and I'm going to keep this little 1 in my mind in the tens column. Now I can add my tens of a 5 and a 2 equals 7, but remember I have this new 1 here as well, so I equal 8. And then 200 plus 100 equals 3. So my answer is 381. So it's super important to always remember to go from the smallest value, because if you have more than 10, you're going to need to regroup it into the next column. Okay, here are some questions for you to have a little look at in your head. Don't write anything down, just see if you can calculate these 2 questions in your head using the method of partitioning. Good luck, put your answers in the comment section. Press pause now. And there you have it. Hopefully this was helpful for you. If it was, think about subscribing to the channel. But for now, guys, see you in another video. Peace out.
Okay, now we've just mastered our mental methods, let's now look at how we can start to use resources. And the first resources we're going to use is going to be 100 square. Let's jump into how to use 100 square to help us with addition and subtraction. Let's go.
Okay, so the main thing to realise when we're using 100 square is that each row, as in 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows, every time we go down a row, we add 10. And every time we come along a column, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, we add 1. So let's see how we can use this to answer a simple question like 14 plus 3. Well, the first thing we're going to want to do is find 14 on our 100 square. We can see it right there. And then we're adding 3. So let's look at our second tip. Every time we come along a column, we're adding 1. So to add 3, all I'm going to do is make 3 jumps. 1, 2, and 3. And I'll circle this new number. And that's our answer. So therefore, 14 plus 3 equals 17. It's as simple as that. And guess what? It works for subtraction too. Let's say 58 subtract 7 equals, let's see. First of all, let's find our 58. I can see it just here. And then we're subtracting 7, which means instead of coming up our 100 square, we're going to be going down the 100 square. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we are. And we finish on 51. So therefore 58 subtract 7 equals 51. But I just want to show you something really important here. Let's imagine we have the question 74 plus 4. Well, we're going to first of all find our 74. Here it is. But now when I plus 4, I must make sure I start on 74, not on 75 next door, which is what some people do. You must start on the number that we have originally, so 74. So I'll start on 74 and I'll make 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps to 78. Okay, but they were pretty easy. Let's have a look at a harder question. Let's have a look at 23 plus 45. Wow, that's a hard question. Well, first thing we're going to do anyway is find our 23, because that's our starting position. There it is. And now when I'm adding my 45, I want to understand that my 45 is made up of a 40 and a 5. So when I'm adding, I can do it in those two parts. So first I'm going to add 40. And rather than going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and spend my entire day counting 40, all I'm going to do is understand the first rule, which that each row adds up to 10. So what I can do is I can just jump down 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 63 is 40 plus 23. Now I need to add my 5. So I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I land on 68. So my answer to 23 plus 45 is 68. Let's have a look at another really hard one. Let's say we have 68 minus 29. So again, first thing we need to do is find our starting position, 68. Where is it? There it is. And now when I think about my 29, I'm going to understand that 29 is a 20 and a 9. But remember, this time we are subtracting, which means we're coming back down our 100 square. So let's start with my 20. And again, rather than counting out 20, I'm just going to jump 1, 2 rows to 48. Now I'm going to subtract 9 and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, here's again where some people can make mistakes. I'm on 41, but I've only taken away 7. So now I have to come all the way to 40 for 8, and then 39 is taking away 9. It's really important that when coming from 41, we go down to 40. Sometimes you can be tempted to come up to 51 because it looks like that's the next number. But don't forget, we're going backwards down our number line. So 41 needs to go to 40. So my answer to 68 subtract 29 equals 39. One more. Let's have a look at 100 subtract 99. The biggest number that we can do on our 100 square. So remember, starting with our first position of 100 and then breaking my 99 into the 90 and 9. Now I'll do my 90 first of all, and I'll come 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, all the way to the 10. Now I need to take away my 9 by going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I land on the predicted number 1. Let's look at what to remember. Going across the row adds 1, and going down the columns adds 10. And then if we go the other way, we'll subtract 1 or subtract 10. And we can use the 100 square to answer any question that has an answer less than 100. Here you go. Here are 5 questions for you to have a go at. Have a go at answering these questions using the 100 square. If you need a 100 square, there's a link in the description below, or you can simply just Google one. Or you can use the one on the screen. Press pause on the video now. Good luck. And there you have it. Hopefully this video is helpful for you. Now you can use a 100 square. You should be able to work out any questions. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. If it was, subscribe to the channel and share this video with a friend. But for now guys, I'll see you in another video. Peace out.
Okay, so that's how to use a 100 square. Now let's look at a more formal, written way of doing addition. In this next lesson, we're going to look at what adding without regrouping looks like. Let's go.
Okay, so today we're going to look at these 2 questions. We have 452 add 5 and 463 add 6. And we're going to follow these steps. Our first step says that we're going to use column labels. We're going to see what that means in a minute. And step 2 says start with our smallest value. So let's begin and let's think about what this first sentence means. Use column labels. Well, when we're putting these questions into columns, we need to make sure that we put the numbers in the right column. And the way we're going to do that is by understanding the value of each number. So first, let's look at this 452. Well, 452, our 2 is in our ones column, our 5 is in our tens column, and our 4 is in our hundreds column. And we're adding it to a 5, which is only in the ones column. Now when I'm setting up my place value chart, I can put hundreds, tens and ones because we have nothing bigger than 100 and nothing less than ones. And now I'm going to start with the 452. And I can see that I have a 2 in the ones column, so I need to put my 2 in the ones column. I have a 5 in the tens column, so I put the 5 in the tens column. And a 4 in the hundreds column, so I put the 4 in the hundreds column. Now I can look at my 5 and I see that that's in the ones column. So I'm going to put it here underneath the 2. Now this is where a lot of people could make a mistake because we're so used to looking from left to right that some people put the 5 all the way over here. And we know that's not right because that's saying that this 5 is now in the hundreds column representing 500, which it's not. It's only a 5. So let's put it back in the ones column. Now I can put my equals line for my answers, put my addition sign to make sure I remember that I'm adding, and I can begin. Now I can look at my second instruction. It says start with the smallest value. So where's the smallest value here? Well, our smallest value is our ones. Ones are smaller than tens and are smaller than hundreds. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 to 5. Now if I don't know how to do that, I can use my number line. So I'm going to set up a number line just here, and I'm going to put 0 on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Now when using my number line, I'm going to start with the top number, and my question was 2 add 5. So I'm going to start on 2 and I'm going to make 5 jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. leaving me on 7. So 2 plus 5 equals 7. Now my next question, there's a 5 in the tens column and nothing in the next row. So I could put this little placeholder 0 here, and 5 add 0 is obviously 5. And same thing for the next one. My hundreds column, I have a 4 and nothing, so I could put the placeholder 0. 4 add 0 is of course 4. Therefore my answer to 452 plus 5 equals 457. Let's look at this next one, and I'm going to do this a little bit quicker. So I have 463 plus 6. Well, my 463, I can see I have the 3 in the ones, the 6 in the tens, and the 4 in the hundreds column. And then the 6 on its own over here would just be a 1. Therefore now I can put my hundreds, tens, and ones. And I can look at this first number, 463, and see I have 3 ones, 6 tens, and 4 hundreds. And my second number, the number 6 on its own, I have 6 ones. Put my equals line and my add sign. And again, start from my smallest value, which is my ones column. And this time I'm not going to use a number line. I'm going to look at 3 add 6. And I'm going to do that on my fingers. 3 add 6 is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So I get an answer of 9. Now in the tens column I have this 6, add a 0, because there's nothing in the other row. 6 add 0 is of course 6. And again my hundreds column, 4, add 0, leaves me with 4. So my answer to 463 plus 6 equals 469. Easy! Let's look at what to remember. Always begin by putting the column labels. This is going to help you put the numbers in the correct place and not make any small mistakes. Then we're going to insert the numbers by putting the smallest value in line first. And then we're going to begin adding from the smallest value. Okay, your turn. Have a go at working out these two questions. Find a piece of paper, sit and take your time, and put your answers in the comment section. I'm going to try and mark them all. Press pause on the video now. Good luck. And there we go. Hopefully this video has been useful for you. If it has, think about subscribing to the channel and follow the progress as we go through every aspect of maths. But for now guys, thank you for watching. Peace out.
Okay, so if that was without regrouping, our next lesson is going to be addition with regrouping. Let's jump into it.
Okay, cool. So our 2 tips for today. Number 1, we're going to try and use column labels. We'll see what that means in a moment. And number 2, we're going to start with the smallest value. Again, we'll see what that means just now. And for this method, we are going to be using column addition, which means we're going to be putting these numbers into columns on top of each other and then adding them up. The number at the start is going to be the number that goes on the top of our columns, and the number afterwards is the number that goes on the bottom. But let's follow our 2 tips, and the first one says use column labels. So when I'm looking at this first number, 452, I'm going to try and label it, which means I'm going to put my ones, tens, hundreds, etc. on top. So I'm going to look first in my ones column, and I can see I have 2 ones, 5 tens, and 4 hundreds. So these 1, tens, and hundreds, they are our column labels. And I'm going to do the same to this other number, 9 ones, 7 tens, 100. Now the reason I do that is because when I'm about to put them in my columns like I am now, ones, tens, hundreds, I can very clearly see which one of these is going to go in the right column. So let's say I'm starting with my ones. I can clearly see I have a 2 in the first number and a 9 in the second number. So let's put those in place. 2 on the top, 9 on the bottom. Now I can do my tens, and I can see I have a 5 and a 7. Let's put those in place, 5 and 7. And last but not least, let's do our hundreds, and I can see I have a 4 and a 1. Let's put them in the hundreds column, 4 and 1. Let's just check our numbers, 452, that's right, and 179, that's also right. But the beauty of the way we did it is we now know that these numbers are in the perfect columns. So let's put our equals sign and our plus sign, and now we're ready to begin. And then my second tip said, start with the smallest value. And the smallest value is, of course, the ones. So my question reads 2 plus 9. And 2 plus 9, we know, is 11. But what's happening here? I've got a 2-digit number that can only go into a 1-digit answer column. So what do? Well, I can look at this 11 and I can split it into its 1s and its 10s. And I can see that I have 1 1 and 1 10. Therefore, looking back at my 1s column, I can put my 1 in the answer column, but I'm not going to put my 1 in the 10s column because I've still got other 10s here to add up. So I'm going to move this 1 into the question part and put it down here. Now I'm ready to solve my 10s. And now I have a 5 plus 7 plus this little 1 that we've just added, and that equals 13. And again, same problem, I have a 2-digit answer. So I'm just going to put my 3, just like before, in this column, and then I'll put my 1 into the hundreds part of my question. Put that down here. Awesome. Now I can start to work out my hundreds, and I have a 4 plus a 1 plus my new 1, and that equals 6. So I can fill my answer in, and I have a total answer of 631. Don't forget to always finish your question by finishing the number sentence. So 631 goes up here. Give myself a tick. Awesome. Let's look at what to remember. Always begin by putting the column labels. This will help you avoid making any small mistakes. Always insert the numbers by putting the smallest value in first. Begin adding from the smallest value. This is really important. If the answer is more than a 1-digit answer, then we can bridge it into the next column. Your turn. Here are 2 questions for you to have a go at. Take your time, put the answers in the comment section, press pause on the video now. I'm going to make sure I mark every single one. Good luck. And there you go, guys. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. If it has, think about subscribing to the channel. But for now, guys, thank you very much. Peace out.
Okay, so now we've mastered addition, let's move on to subtraction. If you're still struggling with addition, rewind this video and go and watch that part again. But if you're ready to move into subtraction, let's go to subtraction without borrowing now.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Maths Guide. Today we're looking at how to subtract a 1-digit number away from a 3-digit number that does not involve borrowing. Let's begin. Okay guys, so today we're going to be looking at subtraction. So let's look at our 2 steps we're going to use. First, we're going to remember to use column labels. This is really important to help us not put things in the wrong place. And then secondly, we're going to start from the smallest value, and we're going to see what that means properly in a moment. So what method are we going to use? Well, we're going to use what's called the column method. And this might be the first time you've seen the column method. And the column method means that we're going to put our numbers in columns. So before we start, let's label our numbers so we understand what place value they have, so that makes it easier to put them in the columns. So let's first of all look at 457. Well, 457 is made up of 7 1s, so we can put this little O above the 7, 5 10s, and 4 hundreds. Hopefully you've seen a number shown like that before with our 1s, 10s and hundreds over the top. And then looking at our second number, our 1-digit number, our 5 is obviously in our 1s column. So let's look back at our step 1. Step 1 said use column labels. So before I put my numbers in the columns, I'm going to put my column labels, 1s, 10s and hundreds. And now that should make it a lot easier to make sure I put the numbers in the correct place. So I have 457, which we said had 7 1s, so I'll put my 7 in the 1s column, 5 10s and 4 hundreds. And then my second number, the 5, only has a 5 in the 1s column and nothing in the 10s or the hundreds. So I could actually put my 0 here to show that there's nothing, and I'm putting it in this sort of dotted line because we're going to call that a placeholder. It's not actually in our question, but it's a 0 that should be there. But hold up a second, because this is where some people could have made a big mistake. I'm going to put my 1s, 10s and hundreds over here to show you what some people might do. They're going to put their 7 in the 1s column, their 5 in the 10s and their 4 in the hundreds. But then when it comes to put this little 5 in the right place, they're going to think, oh well, I'm used to seeing things from left to right, I'm going to put it over here. Uh-oh, what happens when we put our placeholder? That's right, we've turned that 5 into a 500 because we put it in the hundreds column. So we know that is incorrect. But a lot of people make that mistake because they don't put these titles above their columns. So now we're ready to begin, and we can put our equals line and our subtraction sign so that we remember we're doing subtraction. Now we can look at step 2, which said start with our smallest value. And our smallest value is our ones. Ones are smaller than tens and are smaller than hundreds. So looking at my ones column, I have 7 subtract 5. So if I have 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, let's say I've got my 7 counters, and I subtract 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many does that leave me? Well, I have 1, 2. So my answer is 2. And then my second question would be now here in the tens column, and I have 5 subtract 0, and 5 subtract 0 is still 5. And my last question in the hundreds column says 4 subtract 0, and my answer would therefore be 4. So my answer to 457 subtract 5 equals 452. Awesome. Okay, I just want to show you something really important at this point. So let's look at our first question here, which we agreed was 7 subtract 5, and we thought it equaled 2. Now, why did we start with the 7 and put the 5 second? Well, that's because the 7 is the number on top, so therefore we're taking 5 away from 7. So our question must be 7 subtract 5, because if we flipped it around and did 5 subtract 7, well, that gives us a totally different number to 2. It actually gives us negative 2. Yuck. So remember, the number on the top of our columns is the number we put first, and the number on the bottom of our columns is the number we're taking away, so we put it second. Okay, question 2, 469 subtract 6, and I'm going to do this a little bit quicker. So I'm going to put my ones, tens and hundreds, put my number in place. I have 9 ones, 6 tens and 4 hundreds in the first number, and then a 6 ones in the second number. Put my equals line and my subtraction sign, and I'm ready to begin. 6 subtract 9. I'm not going to draw my counters this time. I'm going to do it on my fingers. Put 9 fingers up and take 6 down. Leaves me with 3 fingers up. And now I have this 6 subtract what? Well, that's right, I forgot to put my placeholders in place. So let's put our little zeros here to show that there should be zeros there. So now I can do 6 subtract 0 is 6. 4 subtract 0 is 4, leaving me an answer of 463. Awesome. Your turn. Have a go answering these 2 questions. Get a piece of paper and a pencil, practice a little bit, and check your answers by putting them in the comment section, and I'll give them a mark. Press pause on the video now. Good luck. And there you have it. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. If it has, share it with a friend, someone else you think would benefit from a video like this. But for now, guys, thank you very much for watching. See you in another video. Peace out.
Okay, now we've mastered subtraction without borrowing. Let's look at subtraction with borrowing. This is as hard as subtraction can get for our year group. Let's go.
Okay, today we're looking at this question here, 452 subtract 335, and we're going to follow these 2 tips. We're going to use column labels, and we're going to start with the smallest value. So let's see what that looks like. Well, our column labels, we are simply just going to label the numbers that are in our big number. So we have 452, which is made up of 2 ones, 5 tens, and 4 hundreds. And then we have 335, which is 5 ones, 3 tens, and 3 hundreds. By doing this short tip, it means that we are less likely to make mistakes when we put them in our columns, because we're going to be using column subtraction today. So, ones, tens, and hundreds again, and now I can simply put my numbers in place. But before I can start to put these numbers in, I have to understand something very important about subtraction. Subtraction is what's called not commutative, which means I can't put these numbers in any order and expect to get the same answer. For example, if I had 5 subtract 2, I get 3. But if I move these 2 numbers around and I put 2 subtract 5, I do not get 3. I get a totally different answer. I actually get a negative answer in this case. Therefore, it's super important which way round we put these numbers in our question or in our columns. So the question reads 452 subtract 335. So that means I have to start with my 452 on the top and I'm subtracting 335. And I can check that I put these in the right columns by checking I have a 2 and a 5 in my ones, a 5 and a 3 in the tens, and a 4 and a 3 in the hundreds. Now I'm ready to begin. So let's put my equals line and I can begin. My second tip said to start with the smallest value. And in this case, the smallest value is of course our ones. And in the ones column, we have the question 2 subtract 5. So let's think about this very carefully. 2 subtract 5. If I have 2 apples, here are my beautiful apples, can I take away 5? Let's see. 1, 2, no. I can't take any more than 2 away because obviously I only have 2 in the first place. So what can I do? Well, I've got to look next door because if I look in this tens column, I can understand that this 5 is actually 50. So if this little 2 says, hello, Mr. 50, can I borrow some of you? And he puts this down to a 4. So let's cut that 5 and make it a little 4. Put that there. That means I can borrow a whole 10 over here. So let's think about what I just did there. There was a 50 in this little box here. I've turned it down to a 40 just here. And I've taken a 10 and given it to my 2. So that means I now have 12 apples. Now I can do it because now my question actually says 12 subtract 5. So now I have my 12 apples. Let's cut away 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now let's count how many I've got left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Whew, that was difficult, wasn't it? So now I've finished my first column. 12 subtract 5 is 7. Awesome. Now I'm ready to look into my tens column and I can see that I now have 5 subtract 3. Incorrect. Remember, it was a 5, now it's a 4. So this 5 is not a 5, it's a 4. So 4 subtract 3 equals 1. So in the answer column to the tens, I would have a 1. And then I didn't do anything to my hundreds, so I still have the 4 subtract 3, which is here. And 4 subtract 3 also obviously equals 1. So my total answer to 452 subtract 335 is 117. Let's put the answer at the end of my number sentence and give myself a big tick. Awesome. Let's look at what to remember. First, we must always begin by putting the column labels. Begin subtracting from the smallest value, and we must always subtract from the top number. This is really important. Remember, the top number is the number we have, and the bottom number is what we're subtracting away. If there is not enough, we can borrow from next door. Don't be afraid to knock next door and borrow. Your turn. Have a go at answering these 2 questions. Put your answers in the comment section. I'm going to make sure I mark every single one. And there we have it. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in another video. If you've enjoyed this, please share it with a friend. But for now, guys, peace out.
Okay, there you go. If you can do that, you've mastered addition and subtraction. Now let's look at what they look like when we intertwine them, and what we're looking at is inverse operations. Let's jump into it.
Okay, well, the first thing to understand when we're thinking about inverse operations is that inverse means the opposite. So today we're looking at addition and subtraction. So we've got to understand that addition is the inverse of subtraction and vice versa. But what does that mean? Well, let's have a look. And let's have a look with this first example here, where we have 10 plus 5 equals 15. Well, we could have 10 plus 5 equals 15, or we can do the inverse, which means we come backwards. So let's rewrite our question as 15 take away or subtract 5 equals 10. And hopefully you can see that that is the same question just written backwards, but with the inverse operation. We had addition, now we have subtraction. And both of these number sentences give us the correct answer, because 10 plus 5 equals 15, and 15 subtract 5 equals 10. So how does this work, and why does it work? Well, to understand, we need to understand something really important about number families. And that is that every number sentence, like this one just here, has a number family. Each number family has 4 members. So we have 10 plus 5 equals 15, but using the exact same numbers, we can do 3 more number sentences. For example, I could just move the 10 and the 5 the other way around, and I could say 5 plus 10 also equals 15. That's another number sentence using the same numbers. Now what we'll notice is that both of these are addition. So to get any more number sentences, I'm going to now have to start coming backwards, and I'm going to start looking at subtraction. So let's look at this question first of all, and let's go backwards. So I'm going to start with a 15. I'm going to say 15 subtract, don't forget, and the next number is 5 coming backwards, equals, and then the last number should be 10. Let's check if that works. 15 subtract 5 equals 10. Well, yes it does. Therefore I have my third number family. And then the last one should be the inverse of this one here. Let's check it, and let's go backwards by starting with our 15. So let's put 15 and again subtract 10 this time is our next number, equals, and our last number should be 5. 15 subtract 10 equals 5. And here we go. Here are 4 number sentences in the same number family. We have 10 plus 5 equals 15, and we have its partner, its inverse, which is 15 minus 5 equals 10. They are linked, they're the inverse. And then the other number sentence for addition is 5 plus 10 equals 15, and then its number family inverse is 15 subtract 10 equals 5. But how could this help you? Well, let's have a look at this question here. Well, let's imagine that we don't know this number here, this 10. And let's say our question now says something minus 5 equals 5. You must have seen a question like this before. It's called a missing number problem. It's where we have the missing number before the equals sign. So how can we use inverse to help us here? Well, we can just use the inverse operation. At the minute I have subtraction, so now I'm going to use the inverse, which is addition, and just go backwards, starting with my 5. So I have 5, and the inverse is addition. 5 plus 5 equals question mark, and 5 plus 5 equals 10. So I can write my final number sentence, 5 plus 5 equals 10. Okay, so what to remember about inverse? Inverse means the opposite. And the other really important thing to know is that every number sentence has a number family. And in each number family we have 4 number sentences. And the last thing is that the inverse of addition is subtraction. Here we go. Can you write the number families for these 2 number sentences? Put your answers in the comment section. I'm going to look at them all and mark every one. Press pause on the video now. Good luck. And there you have it, guys. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. If it has, share it with a friend that you think would also benefit from a video like this. But for now, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in another video. Peace out.
Awesome, we're nearly there. Our last lesson is to now look at how we can apply our addition and subtraction knowledge into word problems. And we're going to learn any little tricks that we can to help us master these word problems. Let's jump into them. Let's go.
So our first major tip and the thing to remember with this lesson is that we're going to try to highlight the important information within our question. So let's do that first of all and start by reading our question. We have Amy bought a drink for $7 and a coat for $38. How much did she spend altogether? So what's our important information here? Well, we obviously have our 2 numbers. They're going to be very important. But we also need to work out which operation we're going to be using, whether it's addition, subtraction, or maybe even something else. So it says here, Amy bought. So we know she's got something, so she's gained something. That sounds a little bit like addition. But the key thing here is this word at the end that says all together. So therefore we can create our number sentence. So we have a drink at $7 and then we have a coat for $38. So therefore we know these are our two figures, and our all together means that we are going to be using addition. So our number sentence is 7 plus 38. Now I can set this up into my column method and say 7 plus 38. Get my columns in place, put my 1s, 10s, and fill my placeholder. And now I'm ready to begin. 7 plus 8 equals 15. And then 0 plus 3 is 3, plus my 1 is 4. So my total equals 45. But don't forget that during this question, we were working with dollars. You can see she had $7 and $38. So my final answer must also be in dollars, and my answer is $45. Now let's look at the second example. Here we have Elodie has $95 and she spent $42 on clothes. How much does she have altogether? Well, let's follow our first important tip again, and that is to highlight the key information. Well, again, we have our two figures, 95 and 42, but we still need to work out whether we're going to be using addition or subtraction. So it said that she had £95, but she spent 42, and how much does she have left? So those little three clues, had, spent, and left, suggest to me that our operation is going to be subtraction. So we had 95 and we spent 42. How much do we have left? So our question will be 95 subtract 42. Let's again put that into our column method. 95 subtract 42 equals, and I'm ready to begin. 5 subtract 2 is 3, and 9 subtract 4 is 5. So again, my answer is 53, but don't forget 53 what? Well, $53. Awesome. Let's do one more. This one's a little bit trickier. If you notice in our last two, we only actually had one thing to do, so therefore that's called a one-step problem. This one, there might be some extra things we have to do. Let's have a little read. Dave had 45 chickens. 6 got eaten by a fox, and he sold 23 to another farmer. How many does he have left? So let's look at our important information straight away. We have 45 chickens, he got rid of 6 and sold 23. So now we can think about other information. Well, in this first part, we can see he had 6 got eaten by a fox and he sold 23. So that sounds to me that it's going to be addition. But we also have this second part of the question, that he started with 45. How many does he have left? So we actually have two parts to this question. Our first part, we're going to work out how many chickens are no longer with him, and that's going to be our 6 and our 23, and we're going to add those together because of this and. So we have the first question of 6 plus 23, and I'm going to do that in my head and get to 29. So Dave has lost 29 chickens, but he started with 45, and it wants to know how many he has left. So this was step 1. Now we need to do step 2. And step 2 will be our 45 that we started with and the 29 that we know he lost. So our number sentence will be 45 subtract 29. And I'm going to use my column method for this. 45 subtract 29 equals. Now I can start. 5 subtract 9 I can't do, so I'm going to borrow from next door. 15 subtract 9 is 6. 3 subtract 2 is 1. So we have 16 left. So my final answer would be 16 chickens. And this is called a two-step problem because we have to do this first part to work out how many chickens actually were taken away, and then we have to do the second part, which was to calculate the original total of 45, subtract the number that were taken away, 29. This is a really serious sort of word problem. If you can do that, you are pretty awesome. So let's look at what to remember with word problems. First, we're going to highlight the important information. Then we're going to decide on the operation that we're going to use, whether it's addition or subtraction, or in some cases something else. And then we're going to organize our question into a number sentence before finally we solve. Your turn. Have a go at answering this question. It says Matt had $65. He spent $12 on food. How much does he have left? First of all, think about it. Is this a one-step or a two-step problem? And then put your answer into the comment section. Press pause on the video now. Good luck. And there you have it. That is how to solve number problems with addition and subtraction. Hopefully this video was helpful. If it was, think about subscribing, and I'm going to see you in another video. Peace out.
And there you go. That is it. If you've mastered this whole lesson, you have just mastered the entire addition and subtraction unit for year 3 mathematics. You're awesome. If you've struggled with this, go back and watch those little sections again and master them. But for now, good job. Let's pause there. In our next video, we're going to be looking at multiplication and division. So I'll see you in lesson 3. But for now, guys, peace out.